1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, the books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to me?
Hello, and welcome to The Author Has Thoughts. I am the author in question, Gary Ballard, author of 11, 12, 13, books, novels, novellas of various genres, including cyberpunk, science fiction, and horror. You may know me as the guy who wrote the Bridge Chronicles, or the guy who wrote the Stepping Stone Cycle, or just some random dude on the internet that somebody linked you to, although that's probably not very likely. This is my video blog where I look back at my previous novels, read them with a critical eye, and give an honest review, as well as talk about some of the things that I was thinking when I wrote the books. I just kind of turn on a camera and go stream of consciousness ramble and then edit it afterwards. So there's probably going to be a lot of cutting and pasting and just general blithering. The novel that I'm focusing on in the next few videos, I don't know how many videos it'll be, I never do until I get to the end of it, is my fourth cyberpunk novel in the Bridge Chronicles series, called The Long and the Short Swords. The title came from a late 16th century Japanese daimyo of the Azuchi Momoyama family. I'm assuming I got that right, but let's face it, I probably got it wrong. His name was Kato Kiyomasa, and the saying was, having been born into the house of a warrior, one's intentions should be to grasp the long and the short swords and to die. Now, when I was writing this novel, I knew where I wanted to go with it. In the original, quote-unquote, trilogy of backstory, backlore, the original novels that I was writing for this universe / RPG, there was a character in there who was an assassin, who was he was actually a Purist assassin, and the Purist class was kind of a strange take on the ninja or the assassin. It was meant to be a class that could not use weapons, could not use modern firearms. They were their whole philosophy was one of the purist kill, which is one where the only weapons are those forged by man, and that the most pure weapon is the mind of the killer, and so things like modern firearms were a crutch. Now I realize that's kind of a silly thing, but let's face it, we're talking about assassins, ninja assassins that use swords in a world where people are running around with automatic weapons left and right. I also kind of took the Purist clans as a evolution of the Sohei warrior monks from the Japanese, I guess, Sengoku period, I think is when they came up, which was a period that is kind of fabled in Japanese history as, both a very turbulent time with lots of civil wars and lots of fighting between factions, but has also been a key part of the mythology of the Japanese samurai and martial artist. Myth of the honorable lord who is a samurai who leads his troops into battle and yet is kind of a Zen warrior. Basically the whole Japanese samurai mythology. And as we all know, with most mythology involving humans, it was probably very overblown. But knowing that, that was kind of where the Purist take was, is we're going to take that whole honorable thing of the samurai, and the mythology of the ninja was that he was not honorable. He was the one that the Lord would use to kill his rival or assassinate his rivals, but didn't want it to fall back on him. He was the first Black Ops deniability kind of mythology, the CIA Black Ops team, except with swords. What I wanted to do with the Purist is make it so that we had the ninja. They had all the abilities of the ninja, as well as some kind of magical superhero abilities. But I wanted to have for them to have the quote-unquote honor and the restrictive covenants of the samurai. You couldn't. You're doing this kill for honor, not for your own personal gain or anything like that. So the idea of the Purist was we have these different warrior monk clans that train in the art of silent assassinations using only the most pure weapons. And again, that's back to the mythology of the samurai. When they came up against the more modern armies that had guns and things like that, a lot of them were slaughtered because they had adhered to the idea that you had to use a sword and the firearm wasn't something they used. It was, but a different take. The long and the short swords then was meant to bring the Purist into the Bridge Chronicles universe, or bring Bridge Chronicles up farther towards that original trilogy that I had created. And to do that, I wanted to bring the Purist in. So I knew that this character of Logan is in the book. I knew I wanted to use him for that purpose. It's like in If Tribe Equals, I wanted to bring the gangland up. I wanted to, just explain the gangland. Well, Logan would be a part of that Bridge to the original trilogy, which is not going to be a trilogy anymore. It's probably going to be four books one day when I write it. Logan, the name, if you've paid any attention to pop culture for the last 20 years, you know about the X-Men and Wolverine, and the character of Wolverine, his name was Logan, although his real name apparently wasn't. It was like James Howlett or something. But Logan is what I always knew him as when I grew up reading the John Byrne, Chris Claremont X-Men books. As a young kid, as a, youngish till about probably 13 or 14, 15, I loved the Wolverine character because he was just the biggest badass. He's a character I always considered to be a very immature character, in that I'm the best there is at what I do, and that whole gruff, killer thing. It got real old to me, and but when I was a kid, I thought, oh, that is just the biggest badass. By the time I got into my teens and started writing and doing all that stuff, I got real tired of the character because nobody really ever, as much as they used the character of Wolverine in the Marvel Universe, they never really changed him. He never really felt like he evolved beyond that grumpy badass. Now that's not totally the case, because there actually have been some good stories, and I actually want to give a shout out to Jason Aaron and his writing of the Logan character in the what is the name of the books? Wolverine and the X-Men or something like that. It was when he was the headmaster of the Jean Grey School. It was like late 2000s, 2010, something like that. I thought that change of the role was pretty good, was interesting. But again, I'm digressing. But for the most part, the reason I named the character Logan originally was because I thought Logan was just the baddest ass name because Wolverine was badass. Again, it's one of those holdovers from childhood that I just have never changed. So I wanted to bring Logan in because I thought his story was something I was going to deal with some in the trilogy, but I felt like there was more that could be said about him, and I could bring him in using Bridge as the bridge to that series, that cycle of books. Microsoft, why do you keep asking me about my password? This is not sensitive info I'm using. Come on.